Real Talk, where men come to talk, to heal, and to be heard. I'm your host and moderator, Pamela Coleman. Wednesdays at 7 p.m., we dive into the powerful, often unspoken conversations around men's mental health. From silent struggles to bold breakthroughs, this is a safe space where vulnerability is strength and real talk is the rule. With conversation that reflect the journey, the pain, progress, and peace, you'll see you're not alone. So pull up a chair, open your mind, and let's talk. This is Unspoken Real Talk. Welcome to Unspoken Real Talk, where men...
This thing. One day I will have it down pat. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in, Paul. We are on Unspoken Real Talk, where men come to talk about mental health and everything that surrounds it. Tonight we have my friend Paul, who has more knowledge. Every time I talk to him, I learn something new. I don't know what to do about that. So
you're talking to me.
Yeah. Welcome in and tell those that are with us something about you.
About who, me?
Yeah, you.
So I'm Paul Posey. I hail from Gary, Indiana. I joined the Marine Corps in 1989. I'm from a household that was raised by my mother, and I have 4 siblings. And after the Marine Corps, I moved to the Atlanta area, where I worked at the CDC, the Federal Highway Administration, then the VA. I actually worked at the VA. And as a retired veteran, I worked at the VA. I learned a lot of things. And then I resigned and I started as a photographer. And I've written 15 books. I wrote 12 in 8 months. And then started a nonprofit, and I'm working a nonprofit, and I'm trying to do greater things.
Wow.
Yeah.
You said 12 in 8 months.
Yes. So when we're talking about not sleeping,
right?
I turned tragedy into triumph by writing those books because I had insomnia for that time. Yep. And they just kept coming. It was just a dumping of knowledge that I wanted for the future. I wanted my kids to know what I was thinking, because at some point that I never thought I was going to make it, because some of my decisions, because life be lifing. And I was like, when I finally started getting some help in 2016, I said, let me capture this for them. Let me put it out there just in case, because they need to know what dad knows. Because once you've been through a lot of things, you accumulate a lot of wisdom, and that wisdom can become knowledge for other people. And that's how I got to where I'm at.
So I see that you have negative to positive. It took me just a little bit to figure out what it was, because I was trying to, just read it straight across, and I went. So what's your negative to positive?
Negative to positive used to be a license plate that was on my car back in 2010. I felt like my life was going to change when I bought that sports car. So I put it on a tag. And then when I got to the Federal Highway Administration, this guy was making T-shirts. And I said, hey, why don't you put this on a T-shirt for me? So I had it on a T-shirt. And then I started school at Phoenix. And I had to do a business, create a business. And I created a mentoring program. And I called it Negative to Positive. And then it became, once I resigned from the VA, it became a real business. And then it's a nonprofit, and it's called Negative to Positive. And it says, no matter what they gave you, you can turn it around and make it positive. And like in the last couple of years, I kind of figured out that everything that I thought was negative actually was like a detour sign, or to help me to redirect in a direction that is more powerful for other people around me than just me trying to feel good about life. And here I am, I'm living in the negative to positive life. And what I thought was bad wasn't as bad as I thought, but it was needed.
So you are technically my first guest that could probably talk the most about being in the military and how, I'm thinking about my dad. My dad always be here, but when he was in Vietnam, the things he saw, how does that affect your mental?
Is that a question?
Yes. So the question would be, let me rephrase, being in the military.
Yes.
The years that you spent, and you are retired. Thank you for the services. How did I mean, on the bad days, what did you do? What tools did you use to help you get through
I didn't have any. It
them?
all fell apart at the end. At
Hmm.
the end of my see all that stuff on the wall back there, it was me achieving in the Marine Corps. And towards the end, you kind of see it different. You see people different. You understand exactly where you're at and exactly what they're trying to do to you. And it just came to a crash. So I had no tools. As a matter of fact, when I exited the Marine Corps, I kind of told the doctors that I have a problem. And it was like, well, you don't have a problem. You can articulate and you're not doing crazy things. Hey, thanks, Law. And so what happens is they put you back out in the civilian world and you're trying to figure it out. You're in a new culture and you're trying to figure yourself out and no tools at all. So eventually something bad happened enough that I got help. And that's how it works. You want to tell people you have issues, but if you're not unshaven and looking raggedy and things like that, people don't think you have a problem. But I had a serious problem.
So from that, is that what helped you do your nonprofit for your military men?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So when you look at your life as a whole, you could have PTSD in the military, but you could actually grow up in a space where it was the equivalent to combat. And right.
Hmm.
So what I'm trying to change is I can help the veterans, but I really want to help every man that has a leadership position in his family, every grandfather, every son, every uncle, because as I look at us as a culture right now, the only reason we're not moving forward is because we haven't brought men forward. When men get forward, this will change the whole landscape of all of this because we just don't have those tools. And we had so many missing pieces as we grew up that now we're starting to understand without men doing their job, this is just a whole bunch of shenanigans. And we're barking at each other right now because we really need to surrender to the idea that more dads need to be connected to their kids. It'll help them grow. It'll help them balance out. It would help them just be the guardrails for these kids. And that was one of the things that changed my life when I realized that I was not being the guardrails for my kids. So I was like, what am I doing here? I need to get in my position and do my job. And I didn't know how to do my job very well. I was enough that you can call me and I can be the disciplinary on the phone, but
Hmm.
I couldn't love, I couldn't show love, couldn't receive love. So that's the part about being in the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps is not there to make you emotionally fit. It's about learning a job, taking lives from other people and coming home. There lies the problem. We don't need
Hmm.
emotions to do our job. So when we come back here, we need emotions to be with our family. But there's no one there to connect it for us that says, hey, there's something else you need to be doing. I don't want to say it's always a problem, but we need to take you to the next level. Remember the commitment to your family? And if there wasn't a commitment to your family coming up, now you have to learn something brand new. And that is the purpose of the Change Agents. The Change Agents is a program of a 5 series workshop that I created to talk about those things that we don't normally get to talk about. It's so important that
Hmm.
we have those conversations to get it started because some of us won't go get help and some of us are forced to get help. See, I'm also an anger management specialist, right? And sometimes what I see is they're forced to go get anger management, but they don't want it because they're forced. But if they thought about it, if they looked at something, reflected on some of the
Hmm.
things that they've done, you really need help. And you do better seeking it than having it forced upon you. And that's the greatest thing about change. You embrace it or it's forced upon you.
And it's almost like eating vegetables, that if something's forced upon you to participate and or do, you won't receive everything that's there for you to get out of it if you are forced to do it. Some may not. So I'm not going to say that you won't, but reflecting
I
on
don't
the
eat
church
okra
side of
today.
it, if you are forced to go to church,
Yeah.
um, you just gonna sit there and be angry because you were made to put on, your Sunday best and sit there and be quiet for 2.5 hours.
Yes,
And you left with nothing because you didn't walk in and go, this is where I want to be. So
absolutely.
you didn't receive anything.
Yeah, I like your analogy because I don't eat okra today. It's nasty, and she made me eat it. Yeah. So no.
I
But
don't
yeah,
like fish sticks because
really,
I was
you were
been
forced to
made
eat
to
them.
eat every Tuesday, no, every Wednesday, Tuesday and Friday. It was fish sticks and applesauce. If I see a jar of applesauce in the daggone grocery store, I will think I might just be and smack them
Yeah.
off the shelf. I
So
no.
imagine being turned off from things that are good for you. We're turned off to getting mental health help. Why? Because they make it seem like it's so bad. They make it seem like it's such a horrible thing. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't eat that either. Uh, so they make it seem so bad because it's easier to hide when people don't get help.
Mhm.
You know, you have
And
to.
it
There's
was
layers of you.
also, you were trained. I don't like using the word trained, but basically that's what it was. Growing up, men aren't supposed to do that. You're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to show weakness. Um, you're supposed to take care of the family, and that whole, we all know that wife sits at home and do take care of the kids thing.
Yeah,
I mean, if that's what the plan is, then that's what the plan is, but it doesn't have to be that way. Maybe he can stay at home and take care
yeah.
of the kids,
I
and
think
she can go out and work.
majority of things they tell us were half baked.
Hmm.
There's some validity to it, but not a lot. Not cry right now because you need to get the job done.
Hmm.
That sounds better than not cry, because when you don't cry and you come to so many things, you become emotionally constipated. And that means you're going to build up this emotions, emotions, and emotions, and then you're just going to dump it all over your family. Why? Because they never signed up for you not to have emotions. And if you're negating something when it finally happens, is uncontrollable. And that's kind of about one of my books. I This book here, right here, 75% Man.
I
You saw
I
that one?
no, I
Yeah.
have that one. I
Oh,
got it
that.
when yeah, I got it
Yeah.
when you were with Dr. Miller. So yeah,
Yes.
I picked that one up.
Yes, and that's a good book because it talks about that when we have trauma as a kid, and then we're not speaking about it, we're not
Hmm.
talking about it, we're not finding a way to work it out in our head or in our hearts, it becomes packed down, packed down, packed down, packed down. Now imagine becoming a dad, then becoming a husband with all that. And then that's why we have problems. Some of our problems in our family is because we've been packing it down for so long that it's finally exploding, and they thinking that there's like a multiple things wrong with us. But it's not always the military, it's not always the childhood, it's a mixture of everything you go through, and you don't have the tools to manage what to do about it, not to manage it, to keep pushing it down, what to do about it. And that's where we have problems, because like when you have conflict resolution, sometimes the argument is the energy from all the packed down stuff. It's not the topic at hand.
But we're here to make that change.
Absolutely. That's
So
I don't I just
we're
don't
here.
want to make any more me. I don't want
Mhm.
any see more of me. Being raised by my mother, she told me my dad was dead, and then I finally meet my dad. Come to find out, he lied and said I was never born. He told his next wife that he didn't have any kids. It's just so many things that we put on our kids, and you think it's not going to be a problem. But as we grow up and not knowing some things and then finding out some things, there's the crash. Because someone was just talking about, some people in their past, they can just repent about it, but the damage is done when you don't share the truth. I'm a 20 At the time, I was a 27-year-old truth. You tried to hide me,
Mhm.
and now look at I'm a staff sergeant in the Marine Corps coming to your house. And now I'm finding out that my younger brothers who have a different dad used to hang out with the brothers with my dad, and he lived 5 blocks away from me.
I think that was a time too, because when I buried my mother,
Yes.
the person that I thought was my grandfather was not my grandfather. My uncle was my grandfather.
Whoa.
So
This
is
is
it the
what
time that we, I don't know if it was the time that we were raised, or,
the
just.
time. Okay, I can tell you what it was they can keep secrets. They can beat you into submission not to ask about their shame. That was shameful, not telling the truth. And we want to talk about forgiveness and things like that. People are always talking about that. These were things that you did 30, 40 years ago that are coming to the light. You created a 30, 40-year-old problem. Now you want out. No, you need to face exactly what you're done, because we grow from the truth. We don't tell the truth. We don't
Or
grow from it
sometimes we can't let that go either.
because you want to address it. Absolutely. How can
Well,
this
if
is the human
I think
part?
if I tried to address one of them, I don't think it's going to be a good one, because there's a middle brother. There's a brother in between me and my brother
Mm-hmm.
that belongs to my mother, but not my father.
It's the shame game. They
Yeah.
don't want the truth to come out. No, I believe so. Here's why we can't do that anymore, right? Social media. Social media is here and it's here to stay. So the things that our children are watching is these things are possible. When we were kids, these things, the truth was not possible. It's grown folks' business. Don't
Mm-hmm.
talk about this house outside. Don't talk about the things you see outside this house. Those things are gone. Those things are gone. You can do DNA tests now. You can look up the ancestry tree. You can do so many things. But back then, they could get away with pretty much murder.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we can't hold them to anything. However, if they're alive, it doesn't belong to me. You told a lie. This is your lie. You need to fix it or address it.
Mm-hmm.
It's no longer my problem. And just doing that is helpful for you, because you don't want to ask, and because we've been trained not to ask. Forget the Marine Corps. What did our families do to us? That's different, because we grow up with them every day. Every day you looked at that man, your grandfather, and
Mm-hmm.
you loved that man accordingly. But the other man deserved that love. Well, if he did
I get
wrong.
what you're saying, but I'm
Yeah,
just saying that's what it's just.
messy. It's messy, and
And
we're scared to
I
fix it.
don't even think you got a point. I don't even think we can be messy now
No, you can't.
with social media and everything, because people want to post
Mm-hmm.
and put everything on there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, look
So.
at, I tell you, one of the things I've been watching lately is this whole DNA thing. They weren't doing that back then. Not when I was a kid. When
And all
you
you
was a
gotta do
kid.
is pull a piece of hair. You ain't even gotta do the whole
Oh, are you
inside.
going with the
Just
hair
pull
joke?
the
Is that
hair.
what you're doing?
One
You going with the hair
strand. Here
joke?
you go.
I ain't
And
got no hair.
well, I told you
I'm-
you weren't having a bad hair day like I was.
right. Yeah. So our kids are not subject to the dysfunction that we were subject to, because narcissism,
Hmm.
what is dysfunction, and all these things, hypersexual, all those things are out on the table for them to look at and study. The problem is right now, all our trash is in the streets. We're not talking about the good things about
Mm-mm.
family. We're only talking about the negative things about family. And when you go on somebody's social media page, they're clicking like and giving opinions on the things that hurt them, not about how to change this. I post weekly that I'm having this men's group so we can have these conversations. I don't get a lot of men into it. But if I say something negative, then I get everybody on my post.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I'm here to change. I'm about to change ages. I'm here to change that, but I'm not going to have to get toxic so I can give the help. Men know they need the help. And I tell you this, men, if you're watching, it's great being on the other side. It's great getting out of your own way. My life is 180 degrees different
The goal is to
because
make it easier for them to understand, but it goes back to finding people that they can trust.
absolutely.
So they got to find
Absolutely.
that trust in, you know, the first step is, hey, I want to do it. The second step, because they always say the hardest step is admitting. The hardest step is not. You can say I want to do something, but you got to do it.
Yes.
You got to get out there and actually do the footwork.
Yes. The execution of it. And you got to
Mhm.
execute the plan. What good is a plan if you don't execute? This is what there's a lot of programs out here for men. There's a lot more than most people think. As a matter of fact, if you were to ask Chat GPT about all the men's group in your area, and then you can say all the men's group in your area that cater to veterans, they're out there.
Oh,
They're
I
out
threw
there
my phone
now.
with the chat GT. That thing made me so mad the other day. I slung that thing across the room.
Oh
I'm
my
not
goodness.
talking to it. I'm not talking
Okay.
to it
Well,
right
there's
now.
a couple other ones though.
I'm not talking to it.
But it's our job to seek places where we can be, and the messenger who will give you the message. It's I've been to a lot of groups, and what I found, and this is why I created my own, is they never had enough time for the people who needed to be in those spaces to actually talk. Because they ain't gonna, if they don't go to therapy, you can talk in a group amongst men who are headed in the same direction. But they don't do that. What they'll do is they'll have a bunch of speakers come in, and this is the toughest part. The speakers come in and tell you their story, but you're not allowed to
Ask questions.
release yours. Oh, you
Yeah.
can ask them questions, but you're asking questions about them. You're never
Hmm.
talking about you. And that's why I created the program. You know, I want men to have a safe place to talk about it because they're going to heal from that. And there's going to be some changes in their lives. And then, you know, as men change their lives, it changes their families. And that's the truth. When men change their life, it changes their families.
Yeah, because if you know, they will always say if mama not happy, ain't nobody happy. But that goes both ways.
Right.
Because if the men aren't happy, then you know,
If men aren't happy, they become bumps on the log. They'll sit in their man cave. They'll drink too much. They'll sit in their car. They'll cheat. They'll be angry. They'll do a lot of things. You have to see your man happy. Happy is a personal thing. You can't make a man happy. You can not influence the negative things to his life. He has to find happy on the inside. And then once it comes from the inside, then everybody around him will feel that. Then they have an opportunity to be happy as well. But it has to start from the leadership. When he's leading his family, when he's has the idea of these are the family goals and this is the direction we're going, and he monitors those directions, he makes sure everybody's on course and everybody knows what we're going to do as the family. When you talk about what legacy is, this is our legacy we're going to leave, because people keep thinking legacy is monetary. No, we have a lot of families don't have a legacy of love.
but the other part of that is that you know they may be at home and want to leave, but if they don't feel like they can talk or come in their own home and have a conversation.
Absolutely. That's why we created it.
And
Yeah,
that's
because
why I
it's
keep
self.
saying this is not a women bashing. This is my
Yeah.
disclaimer. But if you as a male can't walk in or come home and say, this is a day I had, or this is what I want to talk to you about, and they're never gonna talk.
No, they're not.
So they're not gonna get the help that they want. So it's
You
difficult.
have to get everybody on board. The change is coming.
Hmm.
You just can't, go out and be a triathlete the next week. No, you got to let everybody know I want to be a triathlete. So
So
I'm
I
gonna
can't
have
get
to,
up tomorrow morning and run 45 miles.
you can do that, but I can tell you 2 days after that, you won't be doing nothing because you didn't prepare yourself for the 45 miles. You see what I'm
See?
saying? So what you're saying to your family is, you know what, we're going to change some things around here, and I'm going to learn some things about me, and you guys are probably going to see a different me in about 4 to 6 months. They be like, whoa, what that is? I don't know, but I'm going to work on it. Wow, you just told them the plan, and it's going to be him to change, and then he's working on him. It's kind of tough. I always say when you're single, that is the greatest time to make the maximum amount of changes about yourself, because they love you just the way you are. They function just the way you are. If you're that person that comes home from work, sit in your chair for an hour and a half and then go to bed, everyone's going to adjust to that. But if you come home and says, I'm going to a meeting, or you say on Saturday, June 29th, I mean, on Saturday, June 28th, I'm going to the Change Agents program in Clayton County at the library with Paul Posey. Then they got to be prepared for that. But if you don't do anything, if you don't to preempt what's about to happen, change, then everyone's going to probably take it personal, because I'm not going to be there for you. I'm doing something for me. Yes. Well, we don't do that. We're almost a slave to responsibility and accountability to our families.
Mm-hmm.
We just never put, we never put ourselves on that schedule. Naps, that's never on the schedule. Why? Because everybody done accounted for your time.
You back on those naps, right?
I'm just saying.
Look, you back on those naps.
I'm a professional napper. I take naps. I took a nap for you, so I could be fresh and be ready to answer all your questions, not dozing off or anything like that. I think I fell
asleep because of that.
There you go. But we have to do that. We have to be on the schedule. We have to talk about self-love. We have to talk about self-care, and have a self-care plan. We don't have any of that. All we do is work and do for others. I'm talking about men. Work and do for others. And then anything we do for ourselves seems selfish. If you really want to prepare yourself for your family, you're going to have to be selfish sometimes so you can be selfless. And that's real.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but we haven't been utilizing it. Why? Because we watch those people from above us working. My mom was a steel worker. She drank and she went to work. Had no dad to watch him come home, do something with us, and then take some time out and for himself and then go to bed. I saw none of that. So it was not possible to think that life could be like that because we never saw it. Right? Well, what we saw was people being extremely angry, abusive to each other, overindulgence of alcohol or some substance. We're having these raggedy relationships with people we're making babies with people we don't know. And then we try to marry people we think we love them, but we find out that they're not the person we should have never married. Why? Because that person was not healed. That person was not working on themselves. That person was, and we talked about 30 years ago, they was probably running out of a house they didn't want to be in either.
I, to this very day, say that I actually, in hindsight, after my husband died, in hindsight, I could actually say that I got married to get out of the house, to remove myself from what was going on in my house, to have my own, issues and stuff going on there, because I realized after he died that he was just like my mother.
What?
He never touched me. He never hit me, but it was up here.
Verbally abusive, emotionally abusive.
It was up there, and I never knew it until I started doing this, that I could reflect back on that. So I always say, two good things came out of it was the boys, but I did not know that.
Yes.
I did not know that.
We only do self-reflection after crashes. Why don't we do that once a week? Why don't we sit and look at our life? Why don't we have a true vision board up and see what we want? And are we getting close to it? We don't do any of that. Once we get into perpetual motion, I just did an article for a magazine. It was called Checking Your Temperature. After my divorce and my son joined the Navy, I didn't know how bad I was, because I was just going to work and coming home, going to work and coming home. And the PTSD and the anxiety and the depression was swirling all around me consistently. And no one was ever asking me, are you okay? Are you all right? And if they did ask me, I was probably going to lie and say, I'm good. I'm fine. I'm good.
Well, yeah, that's natural, because, like I said, never touched me, never hit me. Always thought that, you guys, like what, Ward and June Cleaver or whatever, that was what we were deemed. But when you go behind the door, it was totally different.
Yeah.
Because when I met him, my hair was down to here because I
Yeah.
never cut my hair, growing up. And I wanted short hair. So I went and I cut it. He went to my beautician and told her never cut my hair again.
Really. Now the question is this: what was it like in his household when he was a kid?
He was a baby of 7. So
And you see what I'm
it
saying?
was,
So the dynamics of how you live your life comes from the house you lived in, and you
mhm.
didn't know that you need to redirect and change and become, because they already gave you the floor plan of how they're living. And if you don't know to change it, which we don't know, we find out later, you can't live like your parents.
no.
Yeah.
And he was a head of household of 3 houses. And that was taking a toll. It's just like, but like I said, I didn't see all of that until he was gone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I knew it, but I, like most people, you stay because of the kids.
Right. And do you know what
You know,
happens after you divorce? The kids say, you should have left a long time ago. They can
yeah,
see.
I've heard that. I've heard that.
Yes.
I've
See,
heard
but
that.
we used to be kids, but they can see.
Hmm.
They see
And when you think
unhappy.
they can't,
Right.
it's just.
So you're asking a lot of the kids in the hypocrisy of doing what you want them, doing what you say, not
Hmm.
as you do. Now they have to reformulate their life for a better life because the one you gave them was on shaky grounds.
And
That's
that's
pretty
what
much what
when
it
we
is.
talk about the men, which
Yes.
that's what we do, is that once, like you said, you got to crash in order to. And
Unfortunately,
I've
yes.
seen a lot of guys that have gone through multiple things, you
Yes.
know, loss of partner, be it, I just stay partner now. I don't go wife,
Mhm.
husband, or nothing. Loss of partner, kids, you see,
Homelessness.
come out on the other side because they took time for themselves.
There you go. And that's
They
what I
took time for
learned.
themselves.
You have to be selfish, not in a negative kind of way, but selfish in a way is, let me do the work on this, because
Hmm.
all things are going to grow with you. She will come on board, the kids will come on board because he's actually capable of loving. I grew up in a household with no love, so that affected all the relationships that I had.
I
Not
was
that
in
I
the
was
middle of
bad to
one that
those
fought
people.
all the
Huh?
time.
Say it again.
My parents fought all the time.
But yeah, my mom fought all the time. I could not do the conflict resolution that she portrayed in front of us,
Hmm.
but I didn't have a new one. I didn't see, you what I'm saying? What you don't have, you have to get, you have to create. And then that's the tough part, because you don't know you're in charge of creating the next level. He's like, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. But if you don't know that you're going to be the absolute creator of our tomorrow, when you choose to go on a route and you have a family and a wife,
Hmm.
then you'll start getting what she's got, and then you negate what she's got. Or if she has a dad, a good dad, he might be angry because she's got a good dad, but she knows what a dad should be doing. You see
Well,
that, all those
see,
dynamics right there.
what I saw, what I was raised in, was complete opposite. My mom beat my dad down,
Yes.
so that's another. That's why I fight for the men the way I do,
Okay.
because I saw my mom pick my dad up and throw him through the front door, and he rolls out into the street.
Wow.
So, you know, there was nobody there but me. And like you said, the kids see it. I asked several times, can you just leave? Can we just leave? And like you
Mhm.
were saying, if the wife or mother has a good father, then my dad, which she's my heartbeat, had the best mother.
Mhm.
So what I was in the middle of is the opposite.
Mhm.
I watched her verbally, physically just tear him down at every corner,
Yes.
at every corner. And he stayed with her for over 40 plus years. And the only reason why he stayed with her was because of me.
Wow. Wow. He didn't leave after you launched. He was defeated. Was
He,
he?
I
Is
had
he
my
still
mom put
alive?
in a nursing home so he could live out the rest of his years
Okay, that
at
was my next
peace.
question.
Yeah.
The next question was, what was his life like later, and did he ever get to the place of peace?
Well, every time I caught him smoking when he wasn't supposed to be smoking and I didn't say anything, I think he had his vices as he, went on back
Yes.
to, and he was driving all the way up until 2 days before he passed because I was supposed to take the keys from him and that didn't happen. So,
Okay.
but yeah, that's what I said. I see the total. I was raised in a total opposite.
Hmm.
So I
I am
do.
not. I am not against women. I'm pro dad. There's a difference.
Hmm.
I understand our roles. It took me a while to figure it out. I understand our roles, and
Hmm.
I understand that women are dealt a bad hand also. But a good man who can learn to lead and love and teach and guide and create where we're going, he has a better chance of allowing her the space to become the person she can be. But if she has to do too much work, she's going to be that problem, and he's not going to be able to do what he needs to do. And that's what happens when we pick too soon. And I always say this, and if you listen to this, when you get with somebody, you have to see who their parents are and what their parents did to them and what they did about what their parents did to them, and know who you are because of your parents, and then who you want to be. See, majority of the time we're dealing with people who are still dealing. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
We're dealing to the part where I finally understood what happened in my mother's house, right? I don't know what to do about it yet. That's not the person that's healthy, because they're still going through it. You want them to go through the procedures or whatever you want to call it to
Hmm.
get to your best self so you can enjoy the rest of your life. We just haven't figured that out yet. Go get some help. Do something that's going to allow you to be your greater self. Then it will just be contagious around you.
And see, that's
But
what I was saying. That what you just said.
mhm,
When I did walk out the house and air quote got married, my goal was, if I ever had kids, was to not be like her. It was a constant battle because I was always in the house, and the things she did, I saw me doing, and I had to push it back. So I.
I said I wasn't going to be like my mother,
Mhm.
and all I did was change the different type of liquor that she drank. She drank Wild Hours Rose, and I would drink E&J and those other horrible things. But I did not know about the behavior.
Mhm.
So we weren't educated on behavior. You didn't know what it was like to be the son of an alcoholic, right? Whether you're the hero or you're the enabler. You don't know
Mhm.
any of those things. Those are things they could talk about now. Those things they could pop on YouTube and see now, just like that. But back then, so we're in that position at my age, I'm 58,
Mhm.
where I know yesterday and now I can see tomorrow because my kids are watching things and we're talking about things that are better for family going into tomorrow.
Well,
So they
that's what I
can
did with my
understand.
mom. I
Yes,
did, like you saying, you just changed the flavor.
yes,
And I saw her drinking like it was, we had grape Kool-Aid. I'm gonna go with grape.
yeah.
And I started drinking every morning in middle school
Wow.
all the way to college.
Yes,
So when I was at state and I got back to my dorm the next day and didn't know how I got there, I stopped.
yes.
Because I
So
didn't know how I
imagine.
got back. I went to a party on Friday night
Mhm.
and I'm in my dorm lobby Saturday morning. Couldn't tell you how I got
Imagine a man. Imagine a man like that.
there. Hmm.
He's a terror. He's a terror when he's not emotionally connected to his mother. He's a terror because he doesn't know there's limitations to caring. He doesn't know a lot of things where it comes to being with other women, the nurturing part that he should have gotten. He's able to reciprocate, he's able to share, he's able to do a lot of things. When you grow up without that, you have to find that. That's why you see some people getting married multiple times because they still haven't learned that they ain't got it. Sometimes people try to pick people who've got what they need, but they don't have it in themselves. So if she's got nurturing, then we're good. If she was finances, we're good. I'll just work and hand a check over to her. I don't have to be responsible. But that's just the mentality of not being a full-fledged leader or in charge of yourself, that you're just trying to get along, and it doesn't always work. Why? Because you can only perpetrate that fraud for so long. And that's why you see people getting divorces, because they can no longer keep up half living their life with other people. And then other things just come out from it. So the problems we see on the internet about relationships, those are just symptoms to a bigger problem. They're just symptoms. That's not the problem. Drinking's not the problem. Cheating's not the problem. Those aren't the problems. Those
But
are symptoms.
that's what we saw when we were in the house.
What's
So
that?
for some of us, that's what we saw. So we mirrored that. That's why I said once I left the house, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be her. I didn't want to be her, but I didn't know I had married her.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing. I didn't know I married her until he had died.
Wow.
So
that's a long time being in that familiar feeling.
24 and a half years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just,
did he ever think about getting help? Did he ever think about getting help? Yeah.
No.
Wow.
Because that wasn't a topic then. It's a topic now. That wasn't a topic then.
Yes. I get you.
That wasn't a topic.
You can't say you love somebody and not willing to look at your life. If I love you, and we have to understand, most people don't know what love is, but they'll say that. If you got to the part where you got married, you must have told them you love them, but you didn't ask them what that was, what that meant to them. What does love look like? Love to you was the rescue. You got me out this house.
I did get, I can say it. I couldn't say it then because I didn't see it, but I could actually say that I married to get out of the house.
Yes.
And it was the first person that I probably spent extended time with. And I'm like, okay.
This is it. I'm good.
I'm good.
Take me away. Take me away.
Let me pack my bags and I'm out. So
no one teaches us about finding our person. That's why I wrote the other book, Be Undumpable. No one tells us these things. No one tells us to ask more questions than the law allows. We just want to get where we're going. And then we have buyer's remorse years later. I understand that children are a beautiful bonus, but sometimes we have children in duress. We are a mess and our partner's a mess. And then we have children. Now they're in the umbrella of the mess.
And the hardest thing to do for most people that I know is to say divorce, because then you feel like you're not a failure, but you didn't succeed at what you set out to do.
Everybody who succeeds has failed.
So, but like I said, I've told this story before, but the day I actually decided to walk out the house was the same day he told me he had stage 3 prostate cancer. So I stayed.
Wow.
Like my dad, I stayed.
That's gotta suck. You finally get the kahunas to make a change, and then he hits you with stage 3 cancer.
Yep.
Now, was that on his way to his transition? He died because of that? Did he change because he told you that?
He increased in anger.
Wow.
That was the hardest 2 years of my life.
Wow.
Because
that's what happens.
That's
what happens when men are not treated. That's what happens. You know what I'm saying? Once you're bitter and you can't go down to the problem that made you bitter, that's just the rest of your days. He should have changed everything he could, knowing that this would be his last hoorah on earth. But he was so hurt. He was so hurt he could not love. Imagine that. Now you got to look at his childhood. People like to say, I grew up with two parents, but one of them was an alcoholic, sir. One of them, it was just the devil to you. But you love who they tell you love. Good, bad, or indifferent. That's why we don't let our parents go. My mother in 2012 told me she didn't love me. And she also told me in the same conversation she didn't want the relationship to change. I didn't talk to her for 11 years because she did not want a relationship with me. I found the courage to say, I cannot pour into something that's not going to pour back. Why? Because by 2012, I've made some of the worst mistakes and decisions in my life. And to get that on top of that and say she doesn't want it to change, there was nothing I can do. I've been disappointed and disappointed and disappointed and disappointed. So people think it's harsh, but they don't think it was harsh what she said. It doesn't how she didn't want it to change. I'm the child. So sometimes we have to stop trying to give these emotional nickels and quarters to these people who don't want it. They need the work. And look at the men that are spawned from that time who can't even say, I've been an ass clown for the last 23 years. Please love me until I'm gone. Show me how to love. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, but that didn't happen. It just became close to living hell.
Yes.
As you could possibly get.
Almost a Tyler Perry movie, huh? I'm just saying.
Without actually dying.
Yes.
It was, once it started progressing, I never did anything right. I couldn't heat up soup right. It's just, you wanted 4 crackers, I gave you 5. I mean, it was just going. It was just basically a living.
Now you guys had kids?
Yeah.
How many kids?
That's what I said he did. I got 2 good things out of it.
Okay. Now, how did he treat them in those final days?
I kept them away from him.
Okay. Because he was already nasty. It just didn't get any better. Yes,
because one of my kids saw it and was coming for him. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they were going after their dad, and I had to basically push them back because I said, he's sick. You can't take it personal. We just gotta be here. But yeah.
Do you know where men go? Do you know where men go who have not sowed the seeds of love? Either the convalescent home or homeless or dying in the shelter. Mm-hmm. People don't know this is where those men are at. If you go down to the homeless shelters and you go down to the shelters for men, those who have not understood the concept of love, the concept of bettering themselves from the inside, they're going to die there. They don't know that they've created love with their kids. They just never tapped into it. But that's what happens when we're untreated. We're been masked the idea that we could change. We don't know what love is. We know what lust is, but we don't know what love is. And that's why we're so jacked up, because we need love and we need to love. But we can't do it with all that stuff that's been piled on and the statements and the not getting help and religion. All that piled on and they can't move. They're stuck. And that's why I'm asking men to come out and sit with me so we can talk about it, because what'll happen is the more you talk about it, the more it'll unravel, the closer you'll get to it. Because if you can't afford to go to a therapist, or you're waiting for them to do a 1013, that's when the police come get you because you have a psychotic episode at your house, and they damn near kill you. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
These are things we can do. We just need to do it instead of doing it in a reaction for our families. They need you. These guys need to understand that. No matter what we're watching on the internet and how angry women are right now, you still need to do you to have your best life, because the men behind you still need to see you do it.
That's what I said. I want to get the books in the prison so they can at least have them, because, that myth that the men in jail can't read, that's a lie. But anyway, so if we could get books in there to help them, you
Yes,
know, just,
that's
I
on my
mean, if
list.
you,
That's on my list is to connect with the Department of Corrections for these gentlemen before they get out. That would be
mhm,
great. And that's why I created a workshop, not just a conversation, because
mhm,
some of the things I saw I missed as dad and come from talking to other dads, it needs to
mhm.
be in there. Like Pregu with tomato sauce, it's in there. It's in there. It's in there. I put it all in there because we need to talk about those things so that we may not save our families right now, this day, the young men who are all capable of having kids right now. If they have any of our dysfunction, they're going to pass down some of that dysfunction to the kids they make. We need
Mhm.
to talk to our kids so we can get together and talk to our grandsons and our
Well, we
granddaughters.
talked about that last week, or might have been this week. I think I was this week, where if we could reach the young ones that are in the controlled friendship groups, and
What was
let them
that?
know that there's something outside of that controlled group, then if you could start there,
I've never heard of that controlled friendship group. What does that mean?
a gang.
Oh, absolutely. What more men need to do is when you're within arm's reach of a young man, just say hello and ask him how he's doing.
Hmm.
That does so much. How you doing today? Because we act like we don't care, but we're so stuck inside of us, we can't extend to them. How are you doing today? It says so much,
People don't
but
realize
we
a
can't
smile
do it.
goes a long way.
Yeah, well, if you got at least got some fronts, yeah, that really helps.
I can't with you right now.
I'm
Okay,
just saying.
so
Mhm.
before you go, because I'm,
Yes.
keeping on this square here. What do you want people to take away from our conversation today? What do you want to share with the people? It's a
I want
freestyle it.
freestyle it. I
Freestyle
want
it.
them to know that there are people out there that really care about where we're going as men and as our culture. Listen to those people. Are they moving forward? When you go to these groups and you go to these men's groups and things like that, are they feeding you to be the greater you, not just getting you into the seats? Because I know people who pay to go to programs, they don't get anything. But I have a free program. I believe medicine should be free. And that's
Mhm.
why I created a nonprofit. So I can be in the spaces where people can't make it to other people. And you're a part of the transformation. You get to say what you need, what you're missing. So on the 28th of June, I have my next men's group at the Clayton County Library in Jonesboro, Georgia.
Mhm.
And the first thing we talk about is your yesterday. Those people who influenced us to be who we are today as men, and those who didn't. And we'll figure out what you were missing. We're going to talk about what you were missing. We're going to find a way for you to get it. And then the next 4 workshops are working on that, all the way down to the 5th workshop is called Love and Legacy. We talk about the love we wish we had, we could have had. We talk about picking the right partner according to our legacy and what's the legacy we want to leave with our families, because we are in charge of that. We are in charge. And I want them to know that somebody out there really cares. That's why I did it. I don't have to work. That's the blessing. I believe the things I've gone through, it helped me to be in a position that I can be available to help people get to that next level. I've been blessed, no matter all the things I've done. And I'm excited for men right now. I'm excited that some of us are willing to say what needs to be done and actually do it.
That's what we need. That's where we at. We getting there. We getting there. We getting there.
Yes.
We getting there.
Yes,
We getting there.
absolutely.
Got my
It's our
fingers
job.
crossed.
Yeah.
Got my fingers
If we
crossed.
don't do it, no one's coming to save us but us. No one, no one, no one. You and your family. Because when men get it together, then they'll connect with other families and we'll start pulling it together. But
Hmm.
we can't do it when we're scattered and hurt. We've been defeated. We've been emotionally defeated for at least 4 decades. Time's up. Time's up. It's time for us to do it.
And that's what we're gonna do. That's what we're here to do.
Absolutely. I'm all in. I'm all in. I did not move I started in 2016, but I didn't move my program. One, I wasn't ready emotionally. Two, no one was going to give me a break on it because we weren't talking about it then.
Mm-mm.
You know, and I had to wait because everybody says, man, you're a disabled veteran and you got a nonprofit. We can make a lot of money. It's not about making money, bro. It's about making families. So those people who trying to do the righteous work, they ain't got their hand out waiting on money. They're just trying to make better families. The reason you have to make better families is because I have 9 grandsons and I want my grandsons to connect with other good men. 9, yes.
Good
Other
job.
good men, because if they don't, they'll be in that friendly thing you was talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But
That
they're not going
control
to be good
friendship
people.
group. Mm-hmm.
That control friendship group, or they can be loved, they can be raised, they can be taught, and then they can make it contagious. That's the plan.
Well, what I need you to do
Yes.
once we finish, send me your events and we can put them on the YouTube channel so that more than people can get
Absolutely.
to it.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
if I don't see you back on here again, I guess I'll see you in September.
What are we doing in September? Are we going to be in
Um,
Raleigh?
no, I think it's Illinois in September.
Oh, with the she thing.
The 5-year anniversary.
Yes.
Okay.
That's where I'll be. Yes, I
Yep.
spoke about that. Yes.
I'll be there because guess what?
What's that?
The men's panel will be back on the thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
She wants
Well, I
me to
guess
do
I better
she
show
wants me
up.
to do another seminar thing, so I'll do it for her.
Well, hit me up and I'll help you out.
Okay, okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you, my friend. Don't forget to send me all the information so we can keep it
Mhm.
on the page.
So you want me
for
to tell everybody where they can find me at?
Sure.
Yeah. You can always find me on Facebook, Paul Posey on Facebook, Negative to Positive Books on IG. I have my own YouTube channel. Please stop by. Please check out what I'm sharing. I'm at that level right now that it's all about you, Dad. It's all about men. It's all about growth. It's all about family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I will also have a place on there. I have to ask one of my YouTube specialists how to do this because this is all new. How to have a section on there where it just gives you guys information and stuff, links and all
Okay.
that.
You mean like to the left
Yeah.
or to the right? Yeah.
Yeah. But I'll get it on
Mhm.
there and I'll send this to you to put on your page.
Roger that.
All right. I'll talk to you soon, friend.
All right. Have a powerful day.
You too. Thanks, dear.
Bye-bye.